All right, what's going on? How y'all doing? Um, give me a second. Just give me just a couple of seconds. All right. Today I want to talk about where did the demonic holiday holidays come from? Part two. Now I don't know if I did a good job because earlier I was trying to break down the words, but I know I'm gonna have a couple of problems with some words in here. I'm more than sure. I may not, but it's a possibility that I will. I just want to let y'all know I had a reading problem when I was coming up. You know what I'm saying? As you all know, you're looking at a man that couldn't read or write, but the Most High have taught me how to read and how to understand different things. So hopefully, the people that are watching this video can be edified. They can have an eye opening on this end because we need to understand why we're celebrating these holidays the way that we're doing. We need to understand why and the meaning of the reason why this conspiracy, because whether we know it or not, it is definitely a conspiracy in this. I'm just kind of warming it up a minute before I get in here. Let me just get set up and everything. So let's see here. Almost there. Yeah, but we have to understand that there is a conspiracy in these things that we are following, you know, and that's something that Esau, the so-called white man, that want our people is to know. They want us to continue to be ignorant concerning these things. They don't even want you to point it out in the biblical history for the Negroes and stuff, because this is about our people, the Negroes, so-called blacks, which is the Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American people, which are the real Jews according to the Bible. Now, if y'all got any questions, just put them in the comment section down below, or just come and we'll have a collab, or you can come join me while I'm live, and then I can answer some questions while I'm on here. So let's get to this. Now, the title of what I'm fixing to read is actually somebody by the name of Martin Martin. I'm just gonna say Martin. Martin. Yes. It says the origin of sun worship. The origin of sun worship, Trinity, Babylon, and Sunday worship. That's the part that I want to be dealing with, because a lot of us need to understand what Babylon is. We need to know what that means. All right. The origin of sun worship, Trinity, Babylon, and sun worship. Those are very important. So, Babylon, that's a word that we all need to understand. So, let me go ahead and get right into it. Let's read. Now, my bad if I have any problems with certain words. I'm just letting y'all know. On you know what I'm saying. Hopefully, I don't have problems with too many of them. But if I just happen to do, just my bad. I apologize. I make an apology, but I'm gonna make sure I say them right. All right, here I go. Satan's church had its beginning at Babylon with the construction of the Tower of Babel and on the plain of Shinar. Okay, now the word Babylon. You remember I told you that's important, so we're going to be using that word. Um, Babylon just simply means confusion. That's all it means. So if you look at us and you look at the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native American people, which are the real Jews according to the Bible, and I'm gonna use some work to prove all of what I'm saying. I'm gonna prove it. All right. Satan's church had its beginning at Babylon with the construction of the Tower of Babel. On the plain of Shinar by the river Euphrates, many generations after deluge, a dialogue. Okay. At the time of the construction of Babylon at the Tower of Babel. That's Genesis 11, 1 through 4. Mankind multi, multiplied and speaking, had multitude and speaking one language. Cush, now we have to understand who Cush is. Cush is the father of the Ethiopian tribe. Cush is the father of the dark race, not black, my bad. Cush is the forefathers of the African people. If you do research in that, and we're gonna get off into that too. Cush is the forefathers of the African people. That's the real biblical name in the Bible. This Nimrod is Noah's great grandson, and Cush is is the great grandson of Noah. Yeah, Cush had Nimrod. Okay, now let's go on. By the river Euphrates, it says the church. I'm look like I'm missing the whole reading of my bad, y'all. Satan, Satan's church had its beginning at Babel with the construction of the Tower of Babel on the plain of Shinar by the river Euphrates. Many generations after the Delong at the time of the construction of Babylon at the Tower of Babel, Genesis 11 verses 1 through 4. Mankind had multitude and spoke one language. Cush was the son of Ham. That was the youngest son of Noah and grandson of Noah. Genesis chapter 10 verses 1 through 6. Helping to plan with his son Nimrod, a blueprint by which to rule the world of humanity through a wicked counterfeit religion. That's what Nimrod was. Nimrod was a wicked king. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord, meaning he was devouring and he was deceiving souls. It says, helping to plan with his son Nimrod, a blueprint by which to rule the world of humanity through a wicked counterfeit religion. Counterfeit means fake. Nimrod was the originator of sun worship. Did y'all catch that? Nimrod was the originator of sun worship and the founder of Babylon. That means confusion. That's what I just said earlier. A Bible translation called the Targum saying Nimrod became a mighty man of sin. That's what the mighty hunter means. He was great in influence and influencing our people to do whatever it is that he wanted them to do. A murderer of innocent men and a rebellious before the Lord. This is what Esau does. This is the spirit of Esau, the so-called white man. The so-called white men, all they've been doing is murdering and lynching, raping, robbing, and murdering our people, and they're still doing it to this very day. Let's keep going. The beginning of Nimrod's plan, evil plan, had its origin at the beginning, which was later known as Babylon. This is the reason why I don't celebrate Christmas. I don't celebrate that BS. That's bullshit. This city of Babylon with a tower whose top may reach unto heaven was built by Nimrod. Genesis 10 verses 8 through 10. Genesis 11 and 4. They called the Tower of Babel the gate to heaven. That's right. But God called it what it was, which was Babel. The word Babel is going to give you the answer. I'm going to say it, but I'm going to read it. Babel, confusion, for there God confounded. That means confounded, yet confused the languages of the people. The languages of the people, which forced them to scatter. This is where the curses come in at, to where you got our people scattered amongst the Hamites. Our people, the Israelites, is scattered in Spain. Our people is scattered all over the world. You don't just have black people here in America. You got black people in North Africa, West Africa, East Africa. As you have to remember, according to the biblical prophecies, we were scattered all over. And through the scattering during slavery, they forced Christmas and Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's upon our people. We're going to get into a lot more. They called the Tower of Babel the gates to heaven, but God called it what it was, which was Babel, confusion. For there God confounded the languages of the people, which forced them to scatter. This heaven defined fine group of people went one government to rule the world and one religion to sway the hearts of mankind. That means persuade them, influence them. That's what Nimrod's kingdom was. That's why they said that he was a mighty hunter, because he was a great influencer when it came to sin. And the purpose of those holidays is to keep your ass, keep my ass and your ass in sin. And you don't even know it. This was Satan's attempt to defy God and his authorities. The reign leader of his schemes. The scheme, a scheme is a con artist. A scheme is somebody who tried to run games, and that's what they did. And that's one thing that the so-called white man is good at. The so-called white man is very good at deceiving you. He's very good at lying to you. This was Satan's attempt to defy God and his authorities. The rage leader of his schemes was Nimrod, but God came down and stopped. God came down and stopped this world, was this worldwide rebellious at Babel in defiance of his command for mankind to replenish the earth. Replenish means is to reproduce or something by confusing their languages into many languages, so they could not understand one another's speech. This is the reason why a lot of we're speaking English, because we're not speaking our original Hebrew. Is because we didn't keep the commandments of God, and God allowed all these curses to come upon us. But we have to come back to the 613 commandments of the laws of the Most High God, and that's another subject that I'll get into another time. But let's keep going on. Mankind disconnected the building of Babel and were scattered to different parts of the world. That's what I just said. That's what that part is going into, where he says he divided the earth. Divided the earth is another word for saying that he scattered us in different parts, because we no longer had one language. We no longer was in unity with each other. So we had to serve the enemy, the so-called white man. The so-called white man is the goddamn devil that the Bible speaks of, and he is the devil on the planet. Okay, let's go on. But God came down and stopped this worldwide rebellious at Babel in defiance of his command for mankind to replenish the earth. Genesis 9:1, by confusing their languages into many languages, so they could not understand one another's speech. Mankind disconnected the building of Babel and were scattered to different parts of the world. Genesis chapter 11, verses 8 through 9. That's what I just said. So remember, I told you we was going to be dealing with that word Babylon when I first started. Nimrod had a plan to wide together and strengthen this evil religious system. That's what I just said. That's what it is. That's why it says he became a mighty hunter before the Lord. If you go and you read Genesis chapter 10, you're gonna see what it says. Cush begot Nimrod. He became a mighty one in the earth. That means he was a mighty great. When it came, that's why I say when it comes to wickedness and sin, Esau is the greatest. He is he Esau, the so-called white man, can beat anybody being wicked. He can beat anybody doing evil. Why you think they try to come up in here and try to mess with our people, shoot our people down in the streets, and do all kinds of evil stuff to us, keep us in a poor neighborhood like that, and keep us struggling? Let's go on. Nimrod had a plan to wide together and strengthen this evil religious system. So he married his own mother. Wow, that's, you know what? That when I tell people this, a lot of people don't even accept it. Nimrod had a plan to widen together and strengthen this evil religious system. And so he married his own mother, who was Samaritan. She was the first defined queen of Babylon. And Nimrod was the first defiant king. Samaritan was as wicked as her son. Nimrod and Nimrod and hold on, Nimrod and as much sold out to Satan and devil worship as did he. He incest was used here as a base to unite this newly false religious system. Nimrod and his mother's wife will be greatly used by Satan in the fellowship and sinners to send countless millions and even billions of souls to hell. I hope it don't sound like I'm all over the place with this thing because I'm so eager to try to share this information with our people because our people need to get this in. And I hope I hope you get this in. That you're watching this in. Make sure you watch it. Make sure you watch it with your wife. Make sure you watch this with your wife, bro. You know who I'm talking to. She need to see this, bro. Your wife need this in too as well. So I'm not be just show it as a man of the Most High. You are the man of the Most High. Share this with your family, bro. That's all I'm gonna say. All right. Satan's plan was to it was to develop a counterfeit opposition of religious of religious to a let's read this again. My bad. Satan's plan was to develop a counterfeit opposition system of religious to attract worship away from the true God of heaven. This false system had its sacrificial plan, just as God had a plan of sacrifice. But Satan's pagan worship required the offering up of human beings, which was often the sons and daughters of the worshipers. A counterfeit holy day was instituted in the honor of the sun god, Sunday, and this was designed by Satan to rob God of his peculiar authorities. That means his people, as the creator of the universe, as designed by his holy Sabbath, his holy day, the Sabbath. You see what I'm saying? Now, what I want to do is I want to go back up and I want to read this here because I don't want to feel like I'm jumping in or nothing like that, but I'm just so I'm so anxious to get it all out because I want our people to know this here. And our people don't do one simple thing. Read, read, read. Stop letting the enemy tell you not to do this here. Okay. I don't want your money. I want you to know the truth for yourself. Nimrod had a plan to widen together and strengthen this evil religious system. So he married his own mother, who was Samaritan. She was the first defined queen of Babylon, and Nimrod was the first defined king. Samaritan was as wicked as her son. Nimrod as much sold out to Satan and devil worship as did he. Incest was used. Incest means marrying your own family member, your cousin, or something like that. That's what marrying your cousin is. Let's read that again. Nimrod had a plan to widen together and strengthen this evil religious system. So he married his own mother, who was Samaritan. See that? She was the first defined queen of Babylon, and Nimrod was the first defined king. Samaritan was as wicked as her son, Nimrod, and as much sold out to Satan and much sold out to Satan and devil worship, as did he. Incest was used here as a basis to unite this newly false religious system. Nimrod and his mother's wife would be greatly used by Satan in the following centuries to use countless millions and even billions of souls to hell. See that? Satan's plan was to develop a counterfeit. That means is to something fake. This is the reason why you can't go in the church and you can't get delivered in the churches, is because the pastors is lying to you, because they all about money. Counterfeit means a damn lie. They want to present a lie to you. Satan's plan was to develop a counterfeit opposition of system of religious to attract. Now remember that. Now we all like attracted women, and women like attracted men. Satan's plan was to develop a counterfeit opposition system of religious to attract worship away from the true God of heaven. That's right. This system had its sacrificial plan, just as God had a plan of sacrifice. But Satan's pagan worship requires the offering up of human beings, which was often the souls and the daughters of the worshipers. A counterfeit holy day was instituted in the honor of the sun god, Sunday, and this was designed by Satan to rob God of his peculiar authority as the creator of the universe, or as designated by his holy day, the Sabbath. See what I'm saying? Now look, let's look at this here. Have you noticed how occult symbols are typically reversed? Example, the occult symbol for a cross and inverted, the inverted cross. Most have most have never noticed that God used the six and one principle. This is, you have six of something normal, and then on the seventh, something special happens. Example, God created the world in 6 days, and in the seventh day is a special day of rest and worship. Crop, crops were given for 6 years, and the seventh year the land was rest. Slaves were kept for 6 years and were to be set free on the seventh year. There are 6 weeks from Passover to the seventh week, being, being Pentecost. There are 6 months from Passover to the seventh month, being the Day of Atonement. And I'm going to break all that down. Let me keep reading. Bible chronologic says we are currently approaching the end of the 600 years since creation, and if Christ returned at the end of the 6,000 years, we will then have this 700 years, being the 1,000 years millennium reign. And I'm gonna break all that down. Revelation chapter 20, verses 1 through 15. So 600 years plus 1,000 years millennium equals 700 years. 700 years. None of this is by chance. And God's plan, and God's plan, observe the days of the week below. Sunday, one day. Monday, the second day. Tuesday, third day. Wednesday, fourth day. Thursday, the fifth day. Friday, the sixth day. And Saturday will be the seventh day of the week, bro. Now, let's look at this here. This is a pretty long video. Hopefully this ain't too much for a lot of people out there. You know what I'm saying? The first 6 days are normal, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. Remember that the occults use, now you know what a cult means: somebody who follows something and they don't even question who the people are. They just let the leaders convince them is to follow something that they feel like in their mind they don't have to question it. That's what a cult is. Remember that the cult uses the reverse symbol, or the opposite, in the opposition to God. So if Sunday was Satan's plan for a day of worship, we have seen historically that it is then his week would be the reverse of God's week. Instead of being the 6 and 1 principle, it would be 1 6 as seen from the table below. This is the cause, and so it is not just just days, 2 days side by side. It is the occult equivalent, and this is not by chance, but Satan's choice. That's what it says. It's a lot more in here, y'all. I mean, it's a whole lot. They're talking about Elijah, Nimrod, Alexander the Great. We are fast approaching 6,000 years, last generation now. And if Jesus comes at the end of 6,000 years, we would then have a 1,000 year Sabbath, 1,000 years, a thousand years a day, just as God said. Now, what it's saying, 1,000 years is just one day, and one day is with the Lord is as 1,000 years, or 1,000 years is one day. It's like that. That's how it is to God. But beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that that one day is with the Lord as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day. 6 days work, and the seventh day rest. This earth's history may end up being a minor image of the creation week, but with 1,000 years to a day, that would put a whole new perspective on the meaning of the Sabbath. Now that is for sure 6,000 years of working and a 1,000 year of rest. God does love doing things in numbers. That's a lot, man. Hold on, let me see if I can. Yeah, this is really some good stuff, bro. Nimrods and Samaritan followers planning to so deeply into sin, the occult that they even sacrifice babies to Satan in their worship of him. Nimrod, Nimrods and Samaritans following plunging so deeply into sin and the occult that they even sacrifice babies to Satan and their worship of him. This became a common practice until Shem. Shem, now I want y'all to remember, Shem is a Hebrew name. That's what Shem is. Shem is a Hebrew name. And who was one of Noah's 3 sons, and the great uncle of Nimrod, and his anger and wrath killed Nimrod and cut him up into small pieces. Nimrod's nephew cut him up into small pieces as an example to others not to commit such abominable sins and not to follow such evil practices. And Shem was a godly man, and it was through his seed that the Messiah would come. It was through the Shem seed that the Messiah would come. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to come back and I'm going to start this up again. And I'm going to come back and we're going to start off with another part. Because I got some information I want to share with somebody. Where did the demonic entity worshiping the pagan gods come from? I'm out.